What do you call this thing? Booster wheel? Tag axle? Cheater? Stinger? Yeah, same wheel, depending on where you live and what trade you came up in. Here are all the names I've heard and the stories behind them. Industry guys, engineers, and the folks who write the regulations all call it the same thing, a tag axle. It's a non-powered axle bolted to the back of the truck. When the truck is loaded, it drops down and shares the weight. When the truck is empty, it lifts back up. That's it. That's the whole job. You'll see tag axle on the spec sheet, on the maintenance manual, on the DOT inspection form. It's the boring, technical, correct name. But out in the wild, almost nobody calls it that. Step onto a job site or talk to a driver, and the names start flying. Booster, booster wheel, stinger, drop axle, flying tag, trailing tag. Same exact part, different name, different region, different generation of driver. Booster is probably the most common one. Up in Canada, it's so common that the government literally writes booster axle controls on their regulations. Stinger is the one you'll hear on the East Coast. Comes from how the axle sticks out behind the truck like a tail. Flying tag and trailing tag describe the rear-mounted style, opposed to a pusher axle, which sits between the steer and the drive. If you're old enough to remember CB radios, you've probably heard them called drops, as in, drop the axle, we're loaded heavy. The name stuck even after the CB era died. Now, here's where it gets a little spicy. Some old-school drivers call it a cheater axle, and it's not a compliment. Here's the story. Tag axles are legally required to be down whenever the truck is loaded past a certain weight. The whole point is spreading that weight across more contact points so you don't blow apart the road or the bridge underneath you. But some drivers used to lift the axle anyway, to save tire wear, to maneuver tighter, sometimes just to be lazy. When they got caught, the DOT officer would write it up, and the term cheater axle stuck around. There's also dummy axle, used for an axle that's down but not actually carrying weight because the air pressure on it has been turned way down. Same idea. The wheel is down for show, but the load is still riding on the drives. Doing either of those things will earn you a fine and a black mark on your CSA score. So if you ever hear someone call it a cheater axle, that's why. Then there's the regional stuff. West Coast mixers run their tag axles behind the drive tandems. That's the trailing tag setup. Out in Arkansas and parts of the South, mixer trucks run their auxiliary axle in front of the drives. And technically that makes it a pusher axle, not a tag axle. But locals there still call it a tag. Up in Canada, almost everyone calls them boosters. Officially, in trade school, on the licensing exam. In the UK, you'll hear drop axle or mid-lift more often than tag. And once in a while, you'll meet an old driver who just calls it a loadmaster. That was a specific brand name back in the 80s that became generic the same way Kleenex did. So that's the list I've got. Tag axle, booster, stinger, drop, flying tag, trailing tag, cheater, dummy, lift, loadmaster, and probably a dozen more I haven't run into yet. So here's the question. What do you call them where you're from? Drop your name and your state or country in the comments. Bet there's at least 3 names I've never heard. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video reading the wildest ones.